Everybody keeps talking about Nvidia like they already won the AI war forever, but this news changes the whole story. Jensen Huang himself just admitted something huge. He basically said Nvidia has already lost most of the China market, and Huawei is getting stronger because of it. And honestly, that's kinda crazy to hear from the CEO of Nvidia. Think about it for a second. China is one of the biggest AI markets on Earth. Massive companies, massive data centers, huge demand for AI chips, and Nvidia used to dominate that space. They were making serious money there. But now? The US export rules are blocking Nvidia from selling its most powerful AI chips to China. So what happens when China can't buy Nvidia anymore? Simple. China starts building its own ecosystem, and that's exactly what Jensen Huang is warning about right now. He straight up said, Huawei is very, very strong. That line alone tells you everything, because Huawei is no longer just making phones. They're building AI chips, they're building servers, they're building their own AI software stack. And now they're becoming China's biggest replacement for Nvidia. So the restrictions that were supposed to slow China down might actually be helping Chinese companies grow faster inside their own country. That's the interesting part here. The more Nvidia gets blocked, the more Huawei gets stronger. And Jensen Huang sounds honestly worried about it. He even said Nvidia has largely conceded the China market. That word is important. Conceded basically means, yeah, we kinda gave up. Not because Nvidia wanted to leave, but because the restrictions made it almost impossible to compete normally. Now, imagine how much money that market is worth. China used to make up around 20% of Nvidia's data center business. That's massive. We're talking billions and billions of dollars. And now Nvidia can't fully access it anymore. That's why Jensen Huang also told investors something very blunt. He said, expect nothing. Basically saying, don't expect the US government to suddenly remove restrictions anytime soon. That's a pretty cold statement, especially when you realize Nvidia is still exploding everywhere else. Their latest earnings were insane. Revenue jumped 85% year over year. 85%. That's not normal growth. That's AI gold rush growth. They made over $80 billion in one quarter. One quarter. And on top of that, Nvidia announced a giant stock buyback program and increased dividends too. So financially, Nvidia is still an absolute monster. AI demand is still out of control worldwide. Companies everywhere are buying GPUs like crazy because everybody wants AI now. But China is becoming the one giant missing piece. And this is where the story gets really interesting long term. Because if Huawei keeps improving, China may eventually stop needing Nvidia completely. That's the real fear here. Not just losing sales today, but accidentally creating a future competitor strong enough to replace you forever. And honestly, Huawei has already surprised people before. Remember when everyone thought US sanctions would destroy Huawei phones completely? Then suddenly Huawei came back with powerful new chips and 5G phones anyway. That shocked the entire tech industry. Now imagine that same comeback story but in AI chips. That could become a huge problem for Nvidia later. Another interesting part is this weird situation with Nvidia's H200 AI chips. Apparently, the US approved sales to some major Chinese companies like Alibaba and Tencent. So people thought, okay, maybe Nvidia is coming back. But then reports said deliveries got delayed after pressure from Beijing. So now everything feels messy from both sides. The US is restricting exports, China is pushing local technology, and Nvidia is stuck in the middle trying to not lose one of the biggest tech markets in the world. Meanwhile, Huawei keeps gaining momentum quietly. And honestly, this whole thing shows how AI is becoming bigger than just technology now. This is turning into a global power battle. Who controls the chips controls the future of AI. That's why this matters so much. AI companies don't run without powerful chips. No chips, no massive AI training, no giant AI models, no AI dominance. That's why Nvidia became one of the most valuable companies on Earth, and that's why China desperately wants alternatives. So when Jensen Huang openly says Huawei is strong, people should take that seriously, because CEOs usually don't say things like that unless they truly mean it. Right now, Nvidia is still winning globally, no question, but inside China, Huawei might be slowly becoming the new king. And if that keeps happening for the next few years, the AI chip war could look very different from what people expected.